Hey everybody, it is time once again for a series preview and staying in the West Division, finishing up the West Division. We are going to be looking at the Colorado Avalanche against the St. Louis Blues, a matchup that I am really excited for and think is going to be a really good one between two teams that have played very tough games for the most part against each other this year. So before we begin, I just ask that you please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Both of those things help out the channel an absolute ton and are greatly, greatly appreciated. But let's take a look here as the number 1 seed Colorado Avalanche will take on the number 4 seed St. Louis Blues in a matchup that we didn't know we were going to get right up until the West Division finished their games last Thursday. And Colorado ended up taking the division and getting themselves a first-round matchup against the Blues. So the Avalanche went 39-13-4 on the season, 82 points, won the tiebreaker over Vegas, which is regulation wins, and ended up taking home the President's Trophy as the best team in the NHL this regular season. They went 5-3-0 against the Blues this year. Over the course of their regular season series. However, the Blues did win the last 2 meetings between these two teams, so that might be a little momentum Blues heading into the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see. Colorado's numbers are absolutely phenomenal in basically every facet of the game. 3.52 goals for per game, which is first in the NHL. They have passed the Pittsburgh Penguins as far as scoring goes. They are the only team in the league that scored more than 3.5 goals per game, and they were the best offensive team in the league in the NHL this year. So that's great. You got a high-flying offense. Can you keep the puck out of your own net? Yes, they only gave up 2.36 goals against per game, which is third best in the NHL. So not only are they the highest scoring team in the league, but they are the third best defensive team in the league as well. Colorado gets it done at both ends of the ice. Oh, and their special teams are pretty good, too. 22.7% on the power play. 83.1% on the penalty kill. Both 8th in the league. So they are top 10 in power play and penalty kill as well. This Colorado team is good at everything. They can play a complete game, any style, up and down the ice, low scoring, high scoring, special teams, 5-on-5. This Colorado team can do it all, and they are going to be a very difficult out in the playoffs this year. The biggest thing with them is just about execution and staying healthy, because they have dealt with a ton of injuries this season. And that has, I think, been when the Avalanche have kind of gone through some tough spots during the year, has been when they have had guys out of the lineup and significant players out of the lineup, including their goaltender, Philip Grubauer, who was on the COVID list for a while. So if the Avalanche are healthy, I think they're as good of a team as there is in the NHL, but they've got to stay healthy if they're going to make a deep playoff run this year. The St. Louis Blues, on the other side, have also dealt with a ton of injuries this season and a lot of injuries to key players, including Colton Parayko, Vlad Tarasenko, Jaden Schwartz, Vince Dunn, and I could go on and on and on about the injuries for the Blues, and that led to them having a very inconsistent season. They finished the year 27-20-9, which is 63 points, which is 19 less points than the Avalanche this year. Got them 4th place in the West Division. And they went 3-5-0 against Colorado in the regular season this year. However, like I said, they did win the last 2 games against the Avalanche, so that could be a bit of a momentum builder for the Blues. St. Louis gave up or scored 2.98 goals for per game, which was 13th in the NHL. So not a bad offensive season for the Blues. Not quite top 10, but top half of the league. However, they also gave up 2.98 goals against per game, which is 19th in the NHL as far as goals against are concerned. So not the best defensive season for the Blues, who generally throughout their recent history have been one of the better defensive teams. Not so much this year. They were kind of middle of the road as far as keeping the puck out of their net is concerned. Their power play is good, though. Actually better than Colorado's. 23.2% on the power play, which was 6th best in the NHL. So they have a top 10 power play here heading into the postseason, and their power play has been very hot recently towards the end of the season, in particular, as have the Blues. Their penalty kill, however, is not very good. 77.8% on the PK, which is all the way down at 25th in the NHL. The Blues have to stay out of the box in this series. If they want to have any chance of winning this series, they have to stay out of the penalty box. If they take penalties against the Avalanche are going to make them pay, and it's going to cost St. Louis. So they need that 25th ranked power play to be on the ice as little as possible in this series. St. Louis has been playing very, very well down the stretch. The last month or so of the season, the Blues really got it together, and they're playing strong heading into the playoffs, which I think is definitely going to be a big benefit to them, and they're going to be able to make this a series. This is not going to be a roll over and die, and this is over before it begins. Yes, the Avalanche have the advantage in every statistical category except for power play, but if you look across the board, the Avalanche statistically are a much better team than the St. Louis Blues this season. However, I do think that the Blues are going to put up a good fight. There's a pretty good rivalry between these two teams. They play each other very hard, and the Blues don't want to just go in and get blown out in this series and get embarrassed in round one. St. Louis has been playing too well in the latter part of April and into May for that to happen. So, I'm really expecting this to be a tough, hard-fought series for both teams. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. This is going to be one of those series that I think is a little bit underrated. People aren't going to realize right away how good of a matchup this is, and then by the time you get to game like 3 or 4, there's going to be a lot more people with their eyes on this one watching and going, wow, this is some really good hockey. And, the injuries for both teams played such a big role in their years. Obviously, Colorado was able to overcome all the injuries and still win the President's Trophy and have a phenomenal year. But they had guys out of the lineup for a significant amount of time, and they had 2 bouts with COVID as well. They had one big outbreak early in the season, and then they had another smaller outbreak towards the end, and Philip Grubauer missed a bunch of time towards the end of the year in April and into May, where he had it, and he had to miss a lot of time, and they were without their number 1 goaltender for a little while. It wasn't an easy season for the Avalanche, but they have overcome all the obstacles so far. St. Louis, I think, has had it even worse with the injuries. They've had significant players out of the lineup for significant amounts of time this season, and they just don't quite have the depth to overcome that. So when you're losing top 6 forwards, and when you're losing top 4 defensemen out of the lineup, the Blues don't have a team that can, still be able to be a top team in the league with all of those things happening. And that's what we saw this year. We saw a very inconsistent St. Louis Blues team. We saw a team that at times looked like they could be a serious threat, and then at other times looked like they don't even belong in the playoffs. And it's going to be interesting. Now, they are healthier now. They've got some guys back into the lineup, and I think that is really going to help them come playoff time. But it's going to be interesting to see which St. Louis Blues team shows up for this series, and if they can stay healthy throughout this series. Because if guys start dropping in games 1 or games 2, you're going to be dealing with those same issues if you're the Blues. So they've got to stay healthy for this series to put up a real fight against the Avalanche. If you watched my predictions video, I picked the Avs to win this series in 6 games. I do think that the Blues are good enough to push this to Game 6. I think this is going to be a tough series. But at the end of the day, I think the Avalanche are just too good. You look at their statistics, you look at how they've played this season. They're one of the best teams in the league in almost every category. Colorado should win this series. They are the better team. And we'll see if they can get it done or if the Blues can pull off the big-time upset here and come out and steal a first-round win against a team that pretty much everybody is picking to win. So this is going to be a series to keep your eye on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Puck drops for this one on Monday night. And I think it's going to be a good one between these two. But I do have the Avs coming out on top. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store, donation link, and channel memberships are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.